Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor, and I have been so excited to be spending the week with this 2024 Mazda 3. The Mazda 3 is a good car, and I've always known this to be a good car, but I had not spent time with the sedan version of the Mazda 3 in all of this generation. We've only had hatchbacks, and we've had the naturally aspirated 2.5 liter, we've had the turbocharged, we've had the manual, we've had the automatic, but they've all been hatchbacks, and the sedan has a few distinct advantages over the hatchback. Now, typically, I'm as big of a hatch guy as the rest of the next car enthusiasts, but the sedan makes more sense for the Mazda 3 because of the rear seat room. For some reason, Mazda thought it would be a good idea to truncate the rear seat room of the hatchback version of the Model 3, where a full-sized adult, such as myself, cannot sit comfortably from both headroom and legroom. But in the sedan, that's alleviated. So I don't understand why they couldn't have made that be the case with the hatchback also, but the sedan also has better visibility than the hatchback, but not as good of packaging for 2024. So today we're going to go for a little drive. We're going to talk about all the attributes of the Mazda 3 and why it is one of my favorite cars so far here in 2024 and might actually be up at the top. We're going to have to see how I get led when we go and rank this at the end of the video. If you want to see some other coverage on the Mazda 3, check the link below. We've got a dedicated review of the excellent 12-speaker Bose sound system. We have an infotainment breakdown and a fuel economy test for this turbocharged all-wheel drive sedan. Now, that all-wheel drive is an interesting point because I don't find it particularly necessary, but some people really do want to have all-wheel drive. They live in an inclement climate, perhaps, and all-wheel drive is a big deal, and there aren't too many compact sedans at this price point with all-wheel drive, so it's nice to have this as an option. Another thing that's nice is the fact that we have a spare tire. It's only compact, but still good to have here in 2024. Pretty simple, straightforward trunk, although decently deep. I think you could do quite a bit. The opening isn't huge, but quite a bit with that trunk. You got a nice handle here, so you don't have to put your hand and get it all dirty on the outside of the trunk. Not a huge fan of these dark wheels, these black painted wheels on this one. I should say this is the top level model. This is a premium turbo all-wheel drive model, so about $37,000 as you're looking at it. But I'm happy to report that the cheaper Mazda 3s are also very nice. We'll talk about that here in a moment as well. With the rear door open, you can see that it actually opens pretty darn wide. So if you're putting in something like a rear-facing car seat or even just a 5'10" adult such as myself, you can actually get in without hitting the door too much. And then it's not spacious back here, but for this segment, I'm able to sit upright. They made a little cutout for your head, just enough so that I can sit upright as a 5'10" person, and I have enough foot and leg room, knee room here, where I could sit comfortably for a longer drive. And got a flip down armrest, some cup holders here. I could easily sit back here, close the door. And look at this, the glass even goes all the way down. How often do you see that happen in a sedan? Usually with sedans, the glass is kind of, up to about that low or so. So I could sit right around. I've even got a handle back here, and the driver's got a handle. That's something I like to see. A lot of those little things that have just been the box checked for me. Now, I should say there's no sort of power points back here or air vents, so if you were doing a really long road trip, that would get limited, but I think they expect you to just be getting the crossover at that point. Coming into the front, you see real leather seats and power adjustments for the driver, but not the passenger. I've been so happy with the cockpit in this car throughout the week of having it. I was talking about this with Nathan. So many cars are throwing in technology just for technology's sake, but the Mazda keeps things fairly simple. There's not a ton of modern functionality, or I should say cutting edge functionality in here, but it simply works. You got the push button start, bring it to life. You see that very pretty analog gauge setup right there. Beeps at you forever until you put your seatbelt on. You've got this larger now 10 point something or other inch infotainment screen in front of us here that is a touch screen only for Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so you can reach up when that's on and touch things, move about the system, but everything is still controllable via this center rotary knob. And once you learn and just spend time and get used to how the center rotary knob works, it's such a nice way to go about operating this system from a day-to-day standpoint. From a design critique, I will say that even with only 1,500 miles on this car, the piano black is remarkably scratched here. So I don't know why Mazda still has that in the center area. That is not where piano black plastic should be because it already looks bad. But a decently large center console for this class, and 2 USB-C ports, both data supporting. That's something you often don't see. You only see 1 data supporting USB port in a lot of new cars. Look at that, auto up and auto down windows for all 4 at this price point. Very nice to see. Now, in this top-level Mazda 3 sedan, you get an excellent Bose sound system. I covered it separately in a sound system review, but it is my favorite sound system under $40,000. However, in the sedan for 2024, you can only get it in the top-level turbocharged model. So essentially, you got to spend $37,000 to get it. But if you get a hatchback, you can get it in the non-turbocharged car. So you're only paying $30,000 to get the Bose system in that one. I don't quite no, I mean, I know they wanted to simplify the trim structure a little bit for the sedan, but it's just unfortunate that they kept the Bose all the way up in that top-level model. Being a YouTube content creator who does read all of their comments, I see so many people harping on newer vehicles for going to smaller motors, turbocharged engines, CVTs, or other many gear transmissions, but the Mazda 3 is still giving you optionally a naturally aspirated 2.5 liter motor. This one's the turbocharged motor, but it's still not a small turbocharged motor. It's still a 2.5 liter engine. It just happens to be turbocharged. And a very straightforward 6-speed automatic transmission. If you want a car here in 2024 that just acts like a car, like so many people claim they want to, this is it. This isn't a little 1.5 liter turbo from Honda. This isn't a CVT from I mean, name your brand essentially in this class. This is a grown-up and mature and nice to spend time with 6-speed auto, 2.5 liter engine with all sorts of functionality and premium materials. There's that curse word. Nice to touch materials. How about that? And a very mature ethos and ambiance to it. This is a genuinely attractive car, both inside and out, that when Alyssa first saw it, she said, "Oh my gosh, that's a very pretty car." I said, "Yeah, I know, and you can get one for $27,000 with heated seats and automatic climate control and push-button start and power driver's seat and most of the same still interior." I mean, that's really impressive. Look at this camera right here, this 360-degree camera, good resolution. It allows you to pull into parking spots or your garage or something and see what's around you. Very nice to use. For me, the closest critique I could have from an interior kind of feature set offering would be not having any ventilated seats on this top-level model. Mazda's trying to push themselves up into this sort of near luxury market segment, and I'd say that's mostly working. And that's the only feature I can think of that I would like to have in this car that I'd kind of expect once I'm getting into what I would consider to be near luxury. I can forgive not having things like a camera rear view mirror or a few more of the gimmicks or super advanced voice commands or anything like that, but a ventilated seat option would be good when you're starting to push $40,000 like this one. It's also not the quietest car when it comes to road noise. We did the highway fuel economy test a few nights ago, and it's not loud in here, but it's also not isolated. We've got single pane glass, and it's simply okay. That being said, the ride tuning is really good. We've got decent sized sidewall on these tires, which gives us kind of good initial bump absorption, like going over these manhole crates right there. It soaks it up really well. And then overall, the secondary ride tuning is tuned really well also, so you don't get a lot of wallowiness and nothing is too firm either. It doesn't feel like something like this Civic that's pulling up next to me. Here's another emissions-related new car feature that a lot of people like to complain about. Auto stop start. The Mazda 3 does not have it. We're just sitting here idling away, and so you don't have to worry about the longevity of your starter or anything like that. You just have a motor that works. And speaking of this motor, we got a lot of power, but it's not an aggressive type of power. It's this turbocharged motor is made to simply make it so you can accelerate up to speed quickly, like you see here. I'm getting all the way up to 60 miles per hour, and the engine doesn't really feel like it's having to work very hard. And I understand Mazda's logic there, because a conversation sticks out to me that I had with my mother years and years ago. I was driving her Ford Edge, and it was a naturally aspirated 3.5 liter V6, and I was ringing it out a little bit, and I was mostly just getting up to speed, but in order to do that, you have to let it get up into its power band, and its engine is singing the song of its people. And she said, why are you being so hard on my car? I said, I'm not being hard on it. I'm using the engine as it's made to get the power to get the car up and going. But she doesn't like that. She doesn't like hearing her engine and making it seem like it's stressing it out, which, if you know how engines work, you understand that that's what it's made to do. If anything, it's better for it to rev out and burn up some of the carbon and kind of clean itself out. But I understand that a lot of end users for vehicles don't like hearing their motors, and they don't like feeling like they're stressing their vehicle out. So Mazda tuned this turbocharged 2.5 liter to act unstressed, so that you can get up to speeds and you can drive more spiritedly without having to get up into the higher RPM range. But that doesn't mean that this is an exciting engine. I can downshift here, third gear, lean on it. I mean, it pulls hard. It actually pulls really hard. But you're not really hearing it. You're not really feeling it. It's not a happy, peppy sort of engine. It's exactly what Mazda wanted it to be. You're not going to get something like a Civic Si kind of experience in this Mazda 3 Turbo. Here's something that every Mazda owner should know. If you hold down the home button, you can quick toggle between your Android Auto or Apple CarPlay and the home screen for the Mazda. So if you're doing something like maybe adjusting your sound settings, you're playing around with them, and then you need to go back to do something in Android Auto, press and hold, and you're right back. There's a lot of different ways that this system can work intuitively and easily, but you gotta give it that time to learn how to use it. Another fun fact is you can actually change the volume of your blinkers. So if you go into vehicle settings and then turn signals, turn signal indicator volume, this is low, moderate, and high. So maybe if you're getting a little harder of hearing, have it on high, but if you're young and sprightly, keep it on low. It would be difficult for me to decide between this or a Honda Accord, or maybe the new Camry. I haven't driven the new Camry yet, but at least this or the new Honda Accord if I needed to purchase a sedan right now. And I suppose another car I'll throw into the mix there is the Ioniq 6, because right now the Ioniq 6 is right up near the top for me for my favorite car that I've driven here in 2024. But I think between those three cars, you can help narrow down based on your use case. I mean, admittedly, as much as I like the Mazda 3, if I had a family, I'd be leaning more toward the Accord because it's got more space in the back, it's more space in the trunk, and you could get that hybrid powertrain. It's going to get you a little better fuel economy in the city. If I were a single dude, pretty easy to decide here on the Mazda 3. I don't know, I would consider the hatch only because I don't find the turbo car necessary, and I don't need the all-wheel drive either, so I would want the Bose sound system and the turbo premium, the S premium, and be spending about 31 grand and maybe just inviting rear seat passengers who don't have legs. And then if I were doing a lot of driving regularly and I had charging at home, then that would be the reason to go with the Ioniq 6. But you kind of got to lease the Ioniq 6 at this point, just based on the pricing for that one and what's going on with EVs right now. So let's put this on the Daily Motor leaderboard. Here we have the Daily Motor leaderboard for 2024. Top three right now are the Kia EV9, the Hyundai Ioniq 6, and the Toyota Tacoma. All right, so Mazda 3 sedan. We're above the Prius, I know that. Mazda 3 sedan or the new Toyota Tacoma. I like the Tacoma quite a bit. I really like this Mazda 3. As much as I do like the Mazda 3, the powertrain is lacking a bit from an excitement standpoint. There's not a whole boatload of character here, but I do really like the sound system in this car. Ioniq 6 had a little more space, very efficient to drive. EV9 was fantastic. This has the best sound system of the top three cars right now. I think if this were not the turbocharged model and I were driving a $27,000 S premium or something, or what is it called? Gosh, all their trims are confusing. Whatever one costs about 27 grand. I was looking at one at the dealership that still offered you a lot with only front wheel drive and 2.5 liter. That one might get me right up at the very top. I don't think I can put this above the new Tacoma. So I think we're going to go 4th place right here, the Mazda 3, above the Prius. I would definitely take this over the Prius. I mean, it costs less, gives you more, and has more space. And yeah, I just think, you know, the Ioniq 6 was a little more special to me, even though this definitely does things better than the Ioniq 6 and costs less. And the Tacoma was just pure fun. And I like this car a lot, but it needs to do a little bit more to really stir my heart. But there are so many people I would recommend the Mazda 3 to, and you guys, you need to tell your friends and family, because Mazda is still doing it well. So thank you all so much for watching. If you do want to see more on the Mazda 3, check the link below. We got that sound test, the members only test, fuel economy, all that can be found below. And we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.